Hi everyone, comic book reviewer here. This time reviewing on the final issue of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Now as you know, this is the 12th and final issue in the 12-part miniseries, which is meant to deal with the effects of the first Crisis, the downfall of the original multiverse, and the start of New Earth. And the cover has all of the pre-Crisis heroes getting against the Anti-Monitor. So let's get on with the story. It starts off with characters like, Animal Man, Dolphin, Rip Hunter, Atomic Knight, seeing that Brainiac is still conscious, but we kind of see how they try to reboot his system and ask him for his help. But we see how, due to not remembering what happened to the Crisis, Brainiac is able to read back into his system, trusts their heartbeat, and realizes that they're right. So he decides to take them to a place where they can get the help they need. And we see how, the New Earth ends up in the Anti-Monitor universe, where, the Anti-Monitor plans to kind of get his final revenge. And we see how, number of heroes, supporting characters and that, see to their shock and horror that the Anti-Monitor's returned and is looking for another round. And of course, we see how the Earth 1 and 2 versions of Superman look in horror, seeing everything around them going to hell again. And of course, they get the help from Highbringer, who brings everyone that she can. And even, the female Dr. Light to get the help they need. And we see how, the challengers of the unknown see that, from their shock and horror, thousands of shadow demons pop around like cockroaches. And we see how everyone ends up getting picked off like flies. And we see how, number of heroes still keep up the fight. We see how they're trying to keep everyone alive. We see how, number of heroes are still trying to put up the fight to take them down. And we see how, the other magical heroes are trying to get the help of the Spectre. And we see how, Highbringer manages to bring characters like Martian Manhunter, also the Earth 2 Wonder Woman and that, and points out that, for a year, the Monitor was keeping tapes and that of everyone who was powerful enough to take down the Anti-Monitor. So with Alexander Luthel's help, they end up going to the Anti-Monitor universe to take down the Anti-Monitor. And we see how, thanks to Brainiac's skull ship, we see how, Brainiac is given the help from Darkseid to help deal with a common foe. And we see how, during the Crisis on Earth, we see how, the first Dove, Don, ends up getting tragically killed. And his brother Hawk, looking in shock and horror that his brother tragically died, leading up to the events where, a female Dove would take over. And we see how other magical users, like Satana, Satara, Etrigan, as well as Felix Faust, try to use Alan Scott and Nat's power ring and artifacts to help give them a fighting chance. And we see how in the Anti-Monitor universe, we see how everyone is gained together, and they get unexpected help from Kid Flash, hoping to try and find Barry again. But we kind of see how everyone points out that they've seen Barry pop out a number of times, and we see how, Wally West realizes to his shock and horror, Barry Allen is really gone, and he even sees his old discarded Flash uniform. And we see how, because of what happened during Crisis on Infinite Earths, Psycho Pirate is a drawing vegetable, and Wally realizing to his shock and horror that the Flash is really gone. And thanks to Pariah's help, they manage to find the Anti-Monitor. And we see how Atlantis, Aquaman, and the other Atlanteans are trying to take down the Anti-Monitor. And we see how, Laurie ends up getting axed off. And we see how, a number of heroes end up dying, like the Earth 2 version of Green Arrow, characters like Ram Man, and everyone getting killed off. Even the Earth 2 versions of Robin and Huntress, as well as Cole, getting obliterated in a matter of seconds. And yeah, thanks to the magic users, they mainly take all of the sort of shadow demons back to the Anti-Monitor to kind of weaken him. And we see how, yeah, everyone puts up a fight, everyone uses every ability that they have, and thanks to Alexander Luthor, they give a dose of Anti-Monitor Blast, and everyone starts burning off his armor, destroying him piece by piece for piece, and giving a big energy blast, leaving the Anti-Monitor's remains in a husk shell. And we see how, yeah, Alexander Luthor uses his powers to try and bring the Earth back into the positive matter universe. And we see how the Anti-Monitor still wants to kind of go for another round. Every available hero goes back into their world. And yeah, thanks to basically we see how, thanks to the other magic users, they end up kind of giving back the Shadow Demons to the Anti-Monitor, and we see how, yeah, the Earth 2 version of Superman decides to stay to help finish the job, knowing that he can't really stay on their universe anymore, and mainly takes on the Anti-Monitor. And yeah, thanks to the magic users, they manage to kind of weaken the Anti-Monitor. Superboy Prime decides to stay to help, basically, the Earth 2 version of Superman. And we see how, yeah, thanks to Darkseid's help, they manage to find a way to weaken the Anti-Monitor even more. And we see how, yeah, the Earth 2 versions of basically Superboy and Superman manage to take down the Anti-Monitor one last time, doing a massive energy blast. And of course, we kind of see how he becomes a burning shell of his old self. The Earth 2 Superman realizing there's nothing else to be done, and does one big epic punch that destroys the Anti-Monitor, leaving him as a kind of empty void now. And we kind of see how, yeah, Alexander Luthor uses the last of his energy to not only bring back the Earth 2 version of Lois by keeping her safe in a sort of pocket dimension, but we see how Alexander Luthor brings, yeah, the Earth 2 versions of Clark, as well as the Earth Prime 1, to go to live in this new universe that he created to keep themselves safe. And all of the events in the new Earth plays into effects, and see characters deal with the aftermaths of the crisis, as well as having Barry become the new Flash, setting the events for basically the new Flash series, and leaving, yeah, Highbringer, Pariah, and Lady Quirk to explore this new universe. And the ending of the story, leaving Psycho Pirate as the only one to remember everything that happened to the crisis, and ending the story there and there. So I think, yeah, issue 12 is definitely enjoyable. Again, it gives this big epic send-off. It kind of shows you that, yeah, DC were going to reboot their continuity, as some things need to happen. So I think this one definitely deserves a thumbs up. And I think as a series, it's kind of okay, but it's just another sort of big event comic, having characters fight out. And I think Superboy Prime is a bit of wasted potential here, as he hardly did anything. I think Infinite Crisis got his character right by showing how he thinks he's the victim, he thinks he's doing right, and I think Infinite Crisis showed a lot more repercussions and consequences after this 12-issue series. So I think the series definitely deserves thumbs in the middle. Well, it is enjoyable, it is good. There's moments where you can tell they just threw characters in that they knew they had to throw in, axed off, or just knew they can't really keep around anymore, without thinking of giving them better potential once they rebooted everything. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.